Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. It takes place in a dried-up version of the Milky Way where centuries from now water's the most valuable commodity in the galaxy. A religious empire called the Templars hold a monopoly over the precious resource and haul any that they find back to their home planet in the form of giant blocks of ice. Hailing from Mithra, they wear medieval armor in space and have enslaved simple-minded albinos to flip switches in the background. Everybody else in the galaxy make their livings raiding Templar cruisers like Captain Jason and his ragtag crew of space pirates. The first mate is the roboticist Roscoe, who struggles to maintain the mechanical crew members. He uses a laser to cut their way into the side of the freighter and finds himself in the staff bathroom with this weird little guy. The crew take out any Templars while searching for the ship's cargo hold and take a random 19th century nanny hostage. In the center of a room they find the sleeping Princess Karina, and we're quickly reminded that these are pirates when Jason attempts to have at it. Since they have a mission to do, Captain Crosby puts it away and leads his crew to the icehold where a Templar tries to sound the alarm. Maida's told not to shoot so that Jason can swing over like he's boarding a ship and engage in some good old-fashioned swashbuckling. These robot crew members are basically only good for wrecking balls, unlike the updated models that Zeno's lucky enough to have slice off his hand. It easily defeats Roscoe's rabble of androids except for a single unit that shows some personality and cuts the big one to pieces. Another tries its hardest to prove itself, but it's too little too late, so Jason makes an example of it in front of the others. He and Roscoe then take the captain hostage and order him to open the cargo bay so that the team can begin unloading the ice. When a brave leotard sounds the alarm, he gets everybody killed as the pirates scramble to escape a sudden influx of guards. Roscoe's best fighter has his head knocked off and Jason kidnaps the princess to sell for ransom, among other things, I'm sure. The crew fight their way back to their unnamed ship with Karina waking up screaming, but it doesn't help and she's abducted anyway. A high-ranking Templar nobleman named Zorn orders the convoy to chase down the pirates, but they separate their vessel into 3 sections to escape. Maida and Zeno escape in the side pieces while Jason, Roscoe and Karina remain in the central hull and prepare to be boarded. There's also a third crew member, but when the Templars defeat them in a game of Space Invaders, they enter the ship and Zorn shoots him. He knows who the name characters are, and since the headless robot that trips him isn't one, the cheeky droid has taken his last oil change. Instead of doing the smart thing, Zorn has tighty-whitey put Jason and Roscoe in a prisoner cage destined for the Templars' homeworld. A massive thief named Killjoy, who trades Roscoe's soup for some stolen gold, explains that they're being transported for redesigning. It's just a fancy way of saying they're going to be castrated and lobotomized, then sold into slavery as more of these mindless leotards. When they arrive at the planet, Killjoy mugs a monk for his robes and just walks on free as the Templars never redesign clergymen. While the genius escapes, our pirates find themselves riding a conveyor belt in the eunuch factory where women prepare them for the snip. It's more of a crunch, but before they have their tackle removed, the princess saves them and says to talk with a high pitch. It's not hard to do with how much these costumes ride up, as the pirates are given wigs and put in a showroom to be sold off at auction. Of course, Karina buys them both, and we see Nanny's true colors show when she claims that the black ones go well with her wallpaper. Thankfully, he isn't turned into furniture and instead serves drinks at a party where guests electrocute their head to float around on the ceiling. It's here where they reunite with the master of disguise Killjoy, who's impersonating one of the security droids to hide. When the party animal Zorn arrives, he recognizes Jason even in his silly wig and orders him to be arrested. Karina has her own reason for wanting to keep them alive, while Killjoy hijacks a motorcycle to move quicker, but he can't fit on the back. He's dragged along through a mall and falls off with Roscoe when they crash through some windows, leaving the pair on foot. Luckily, they come across the Pimpbot 3000, who's willing to give them a lift anywhere for the stolen gold in Killjoy's pocket. They reconnect with the others on a stolen ship and escape the planet alongside the racist Nanny and robot butler Percy. It's not as though Zorn's angry though, as we hear from the Templars' supreme commander that everything's going exactly how they planned. When Jason acts like he's in charge, Karina pulls her gun on him and lets it be known that she'd rather not have to shoot him. She could just fly the ship herself, but wants Jason to set up a meeting with his pirate friend who might know her missing father's location. He vanished while searching for the seventh world, which is rumored to have vast water reserves that would break the Templars' stranglehold on the galaxy. The journey goes smoothly until a dehydrated egg rolls out of the food storage and this disgusting little grub emerges. It bites Roscoe on the back, followed by Jason when he picks it up, and only then do they read the manifest to learn that it's space herpes. Moving on and arriving at the bustling pirate city, they reunite with Maida and Zeno, who's regrown his hand but isn't the biggest man on the crew anymore. They find out from a friendly little waitress that the man that they're searching for is now living in a town called Sweetwater. Needing a vehicle, Jason pimps out the princess to some frog person eyeballing them from across the room. But it turns out that it's a woman, so the captain must take a slimy tadpole-shaped bullet for the team himself. A local called Dogbite is shown watching the crew and alerts his cycloptic comrade that they have a bounty on their head. The big boy Patch walks up and tries to kidnap the princess, and when Maida interjects he calls on the metaphorical muscle. Dogbite wields a sword that can cut straight through solid steel, but Maida's can separate a head from the neck, which is always enough. Big for Nothing apologizes, and once the frog lady's satisfied she agrees to take Jason and Karina out past the burrowing unicorn otters to Sweetwater. It's definitely a deceptive name and is home to the retired pirate Lanky Nibs, who spends his days slingshotting these dune skunks. He looks 20 years older than Jason remembers after a failed attempt to travel to the seventh world with Karina's father took its toll. He says that they found the world containing oceans of water, but it's surrounded by a time warp that needs precise navigating to enter. When they returned after failing penetration, the Templars captured Karina's father while Lanky escaped and went into hiding. Just then Patch returns with his crew on whatever the hell this thing is and blows up the helpful frog lady before barreling into Sweetwater. It squishes Percy, who could get back up but doesn't, while the trio use the dead frog's car for a medium-speed chase. When the bounty hunters are right on them, Jason makes this slick move like you would actually do to board a pursuing boat. He kills all of the crew members on board except for Patch, who's left to collide with a fuel tank while Jason leaps off to safety. Lanky got mortally wounded somehow so that we can pay less actors, and with his last breath tells Jason the seventh world's location. The survivors return to their spaceship and plot a course for humanity's last hope while Zeno gets cooking in the kitchen. He roasts a giant bird in what could have been a beautiful bonding moment, but a return of the space herpes puts everybody off their appetite. It scurries away again, and Jason just turns to the disgusted princess and says that herpes isn't all that dangerous. Moving on, the pirates dock on a fog-covered planet that was the last place Lanky said he saw Karina's father. They're suddenly ambushed by an army of warrior women riding unicorns that break their horns off in the robots and drag away Jason and Karina by their necks. Roscoe's left behind, as I guess they just didn't see him, while the prisoners are brought by the muscular women before the flamboyant Wendon. He explains that he's holding Karina's father prisoner but couldn't care less about finding the seventh world as he's already got everything he wants. The pair are ordered to be executed by this painted lady when Roscoe swings down, kicking Wendon's head off his robot body. A brief tussle ensues until Karina takes a guard's gun and threatens to put a bullet in the brain if these savages don't unhand her comrades. The talking head's then made to endure excruciating torture from Jason before finally revealing the location of Karina's father. Once the thighs move out of the way, they realize that Count Vasco is only a robot double, so they chop him up searching for the location of the real one. Somehow Wendon pocketed the Count's ring with only control of his tongue, and Karina reveals that it contains a recorded message from her father. He gives them precise coordinates to the seventh world and explains that even the slightest deviation will trap them inside the time warp forever. Jason readies the crew to travel to another planet while Roscoe unveils a robot called Buford that's his fastest model yet. He's painted that color for that reason, and the captain puts on his most prettiest of blouses to go speak with the princess in private. They waste no time in kissing, and Jason carries her off for a night of passionate lovemaking, or rather just 3 minutes of fully clothed grinding. It gets a bit dramatic with the space rain, and I blame their wasted time for why Templars are right on their tail when returning to the helm. None other than Zorn, the party animal himself, delivers the message that he's followed them into the warp as his big master plan. The Templars' cruiser easily catches up to the pirates because Jason refuses to deviate course and begins standard boarding procedures. That includes sending in dozens of robots at a time while Roscoe's microwaves fight back, but they're overwhelmed by the numbers. Time begins to speed up in the warp, aging everybody 3 months, including the droids, who can no longer hold their bladders. Wendon finds a new body and tells Jason that his dry humping got Karina pregnant, but 9 months pass in the time it takes to get to her. She's already given birth to a baby boy, which Jason says looks nothing like him, then just turns and leaves. He congratulates Percy on his way past for finally taking care of that pesky herpy worm, then returns to the ongoing battle. While flying the ship, Maida is attacked by nothing that she can't handle, but they drift off course, so time goes even quicker. Jason's son is now searching for his father while the nanny's completely dried up and Karina's right there behind her. The elderly pirates struggle to keep fighting and fall back to the ice hull with only Buford left of the robots to help them. Zeno dies of old age while Killjoy's run through with a sword that he would have dodged if he was only 10 minutes younger. Zorn always pops up to gloat about his victory as Jason and Roscoe are finally defeated simply because they've grown too old to keep running. Just then the full-grown son of Jason and Karina swings in to destroy the last remaining droids while looking just like his father.
We won!
The pirate ship emerges from the time distortion and all of the crew has returned to the ages they were when entering the warp. Because the Templars veered just 1 degree off course, they get lost forever in the time warp, and Karina's child's yet to be born. As the blue planet comes into view, the fabled seventh world's revealed to be Earth, which none of them have even heard of. And the movie ends.